playing with my phone like bad Janet. Trying to.
You keep like bad Janet.
We're going live.
You can watch, but you gotta stay over there because you keep appearing.
And we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Kylie.
How are you doing? Can somebody check the Facebook page and make sure it says we're live?
As we're live.
All right. Hello to all the Facebookeries out there. This is Couch Potatoes Unite! ! This is our Good Place panel, and we're happy to have you here. We hope you stick with us. We're going to be talking about Season 4 and looking back at the whole show, and because I am recording this in a variety of different formats, I'm going to give you a little taste of our introduction. Just want to make sure everybody's up and running. So I'm going to say hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! ! Which is based on a blog of the same name because it's like a new and improved and evolved Janet after a few tidy reboots. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. Our podcast episodes are published every Wednesday. Sometimes blog posts are published on Tuesdays. Subscribe to us via Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify. We're now on iHeartRadio, CastBox, and of course we have YouTube as well. And you can find us at our website. Each podcast episode features a panel of 3 to 7 participants, as you see before you, including a moderator, which, let's face it, is usually me, around the water cooler and talking about our favorite TV shows and sometimes movies. It's not about extensive recapping and hyper-analysis. It's about our reactions as fans of a hardcore or casual type, or perhaps not so fans, of any show that catches our fancy would be. And we watch a lot of TV. Maybe we shouldn't be so proud of that, but you're united with us, so you can't judge. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows, from drama to comedy, from straightforward to science fiction and fantasy, and from superhero to arch-villain. Today we're coming to you live streamed from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this is one of our CPU Live podcasts. Well, sort of. Normally we love an interactive audience, but you may have heard about this thing called a global pandemic, and we've got a need to reasonably quarantine ourselves, so that forces us to observe some social distancing. Fortunately, though, we have Facebook to help us out with some live interaction. But that doesn't mean you have to be shy, listeners and watchers. You can interact with us. Our panelist, Kristen, wave at him, Kristen. She'll be monitoring our feeds today, so if you have comments or questions or interesting little feedback that you want to toss our way, we can take it. We're hip to it, and we'll answer you right now live on the air. Ooh. Just you wait, okay? So don't be shy. We'd love if you commented and reacted. And this is a third attempt of ours at live streams, but because it's live stream and it's technology, if for some reason the horrible thing should happen where we cut out, just bear with us. We'll get right back on. We can only hope we don't get throttled. You know what that means if you're an Xfinity customer, okay? And they're not sponsoring us, so I can say that. Okay. So if you didn't already know, CPU is a podcast by the people for the people. We're always adding new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler. We love it when people say hi. They have. We hope you will and continue to do so. We create new panels all the time filled with people just like you at home, and it's easy to talk about TV. So if you ever want to be part of a friendly podcast and talk about the shows about which you're most passionate, or even to suggest shows we ought to cover, or maybe you like to hate watch things and dog on them, that's okay too. Get in contact with us. Drop us a line. Let us know how you're doing and how we're doing. Today, our The Good Place panel is back around the virtual water cooler and discussing Season 4 of the heady philosophical comedy, as well as looking back at the whole existential shebang now that all is said and done. Season 4 aired from September 26, 2019 to January 30, 2020 on NBC, with a total of 13 episodes, though the series finale was an hour long, and finished with a goodbye special hosted by Seth Meyers, which reunited the cast for some final thoughts. We do a little plot summary, and it's very little, so I'm going to do it right now. The Good Place focuses on Eleanor Shellstrop, played by Kristen Bell, hashtag National Treasure, A woman who wakes up in the afterlife and is introduced by Michael, played by Ted Danson, to the good place, a heaven-like utopia he designed in reward for her righteous life. She realizes that she was sent there by mistake, but decides to hide her morally imperfect behavior and to try to become a better person. William Jackson Harper, Jamila Jamil, and Manny Jacinto co-star as other residents of The Good Place, while Darcy Carden plays Janet, an artificial being helping the inhabitants. Each episode features flashbacks from one of the main characters and ends with a cliffhanger leading into the following episode. In the final season, which we're discussing today, the year-long experiment, after a few trials and errors, eventually proves that humans can show moral improvement in the afterlife. The group thereafter institutes a new system whereby deceased humans will earn their way into the good place by passing tests of moral development. To avoid becoming numbed by the ennui of eternal bliss, humans may choose to exit the good place and to peacefully end their afterlife. Today, for the third and final episode of our Good Place Water Cooler series, our Good Place panel, namely Kristen, wave as I'm saying your names, Kristen, Kels, Selene, Michael, and Krista, returns to talk specifically about the final season as well as to reflect back on the show as a whole now that the series has made its final exit from existence. Before we get started, of course, I'm going to take a moment to take the panel's temperature because, after all, sometimes a show can take a turn for the better or worse in our heads, or can continue its level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon story evolution. Thus, as always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have watched all episodes of The Good Place and may discuss sensitive plot points, which actually exist in this unusual half-hour comedy. So for those of you who have not watched any of The Good Place, and particularly Season 4, and plan to do so at some point, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel! How are you?
Hey!
Awesome.
Are you ready to discuss The Good Place Season 4 and to look back at this awesome show?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, good. Well, what I'm going to have our panel do, which we do on every one of our episodes, our water cooler episodes, is to tell me how they would rate their interest in The Good Place following their viewing of Season 4. And we do that along the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And I did change our The Good Place character question quite substantially because let's just say there was moral development in Season 4 that required some tweaking. So what they're going to do is tell you who they are, their first name, how they relate to or how they have interest in The Good Place Season 4 along this character question. And then, if it's not obvious to the viewer, you might want to talk about who you're representing from The Good Place today. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So, how would you rate your interest in The Good Place Season 4 along our standard character question that changes with each show we do? Do you love it? You believe you legitimately exhibit some kind of affection for it because your programming has evolved, not because you're real or a girl or anything human, though maybe you're getting closer since it seems that anything is possible in the afterlife, and you do live at all times at once. Still, after repeatedly watching it over and over and over, you've realized that the act of watching it has made you smarter, better, and more human, and that you really might love it in a genuine human way after all, and even as much as you love Jason, like Janet. Do you find it to be a true breath of fresh air in an otherwise lifeless TV landscape, not unlike yourself, though you wish you better understood what you were watching at times? Still, you feel the show has something to teach even the most casual or superficial viewer, though you know for a fact that those viewers will miss out on all of the small delights that the show has to offer, like those offered by life, and incidentally the afterlife, unless such viewers apply themselves accordingly, like Tahani Al-Jamil. You love Janet. She's nice. And dancing. And DJing. And the Jacksonville Jaguars. And EDM. And your new crew, the Soul Squad. And Janet again. And what were we talking about? You need Michael to give you back your memories because you forgot them again, like Jason Mendoza. There are parts of it you like, and parts of it, including possible characters, Brent comes to mind, that you don't like, but you're committed to seeing the show improve itself somehow if possible, and you'll forking do whatever you can to stay engaged because it's the right thing to do. Besides, you only play games you can win, and you want to see love and humanity win out, especially for Eleanor and Cheety's sake, like Eleanor Shellstrop. You can't decide how or if you like it. I mean, you really can't decide about the show or anything else, ever, except for maybe one or two winning characters that have managed to quell your indecision, however difficult it is to do so, like Eleanor, because Eleanor is the answer. Still, you've been debating the merits of the show about philosophy, which may even address or reference some of your personal heroes for the better part of years, and you still really haven't landed on an opinion of your own, though you're happy to have what seems like several Jeremy Bearamy's worth of time to spend with at least those characters that you love, like Chidi Anagonye. Or you don't like it as much as other shows, though you've sort of warmed up to it because, if nothing else, you acknowledge that the problems and moral dilemmas in this show are very human, and that element, at least, fascinates you. Still, the show didn't turn out to be what you expected, and some of it was personally quite frustrating to you, like when the Good Place Council saddled you with being the architect while they skedaddled, but you persevered, because you found small ways to relate to it in spite of yourself. Which reminds you that you could never truly hate any of it in the end, even Sean and Vicky. Like Michael. Who would like to start?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm Selene.
Hi, Selene.
Hello.
Hi.
I would have to say that, like last time, I'm still Janet, but I'm also definitely also Tahani and a little bit of Jason. And by a little bit, I mean I am all in love with Janet. So, yeah.
Okay. And who are you representing today, Selene?
Well, I'm bad Janet. Can't you tell? Sorry. Oh, you can't see my phone. I can't see either. I have my glasses on, and I don't know where my contacts are. So, you know.
So this is going great.
It's the aesthetic, right?
You got it. You got it, girl. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I guess I'll go next because I'm also here.
It's true.
Hi there. I'm Kels.
Hi, Kels.
And what am I supposed to say next?
Character you are.
Thank you. I am still Janet. I was Janet last time. I'm still Janet. I love this show. I know we're going to say this later, but I recommend, like, if anyone's ever asking for a show recommendation, I'm always like, have you watched The Good Place yet? So I think, I mean, I can find a little bit of myself in all of the rest of the character descriptions as well, but I don't like the blend characters, and I think I am very strongly Janet. So I'm going with that one.
All right. And who are you representing today, Kels?
I am representing Janet, even though I have a shaved head.
All right.
And even though I ordered a purple jumper to go with this blouse, and it's not coming until 9 p.m. So now I have this awkward other outfit going on. But it's fine.
It works. And would you like to indicate some dynamics for the viewers?
Good Janet and Bad Janet are married.
Mm-hmm. Not just sisters, they're married.
Yes.
Fair enough. Welcome back, Kels.
Thank you.
I'm Krista.
Hi, Krista.
And I am representing Jason Mendoza.
Clearly, Jaguars rule.
I think I am Eleanor with a little bit of Chidi.
Oh, last time you were Tahani with a little of Jason and Eleanor. You seem to have slipped.
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't like it. I enjoy it. That's why I'm here. It's just not like my most favorite thing ever.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Sorry. I feel like whenever I say I don't like something very popular on this podcast, I must quantify that I'm allowed.
I mean, disagreement is fine, and that might...
I like it. That's not...
Okay. I was just trying to gauge because, you were one set of characters before, and now you're slightly different.
It's not like I became Vicky.
Vicky's not an option.
Well, yes, you get my point.
Well, hopefully you will explain why you are Eleanor and Sheedy, either now or at some point later.
Yes, and I may have to lose this hoodie. It is hot.
Well, fair enough. We get the picture, though, Krista/Jason. Welcome back, Krista.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Michael.
Hi, Michael.
That really is my name.
That's really your name? You're
I
not
know.
just the Michael from The Good Place?
I mean, everything down to what you probably can't notice, but there's even a good place pin I'm wearing, which can also be a bad place pin if you switch it around. It has both the thumbs down and thumbs up. So right now it's a good place pin. But anyway, so I started out as a Tahani mostly, with a little bit of, I think it was, I can't remember which one it was, where I was like, I have no idea what's going on necessarily, but it's still a great show. But
You were Janet and Eleanor combined on top of Tahani, is what you said.
Okay, that was it, yeah. Well, I am upgrading myself to Janet after this, because after everything has finally wrapped up, in a way I had no idea was going to wrap up. I actually was very surprised by it. I think this show managed to be one of the greatest TV shows of the last, 20 years, honestly. It's probably going to be one of the good ones of the century. Who knows what the century's going to be like in 80 years, but hey, you never know. So, yeah, I'm definitely Janet. It's the best.
With the way things are going, I think the probability is high. So you're also representing Michael the architect.
That's right, yes. I mean, I don't have the slick back hair of Ted Danson, but I do have the bow tie, and the bow tie is the best part, I think. I'm not going to say the other thing I could say because that's the wrong show.
Bow ties are cool.
Bow ties are cool.
I have this limp one.
We'll leave that there, and welcome back, Michael.
And now to follow that, hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Hello. So last time I was Janet with a little bit of Tahani, and I'm still Janet with a little bit of Tahani. I love this show. I love this show so much. I was so excited when it was first coming out. It's one of the few shows that I watched. I mean, I don't have live TV, so I watch it on Hulu the next day, but I was watching it first thing in the morning as I was getting ready for work the day after. I can see myself coming back and rewatching the show for many, many rewatches to come. I definitely in my top 5 of my all-time favorite shows. So love it, love it, love it. Yeah, Janet and a little Tahani, and I'm representing Tahani today. So you can tell by my beautiful house behind me. Little house over that way.
All right. Welcome back, Kristen. And of course, my name is Kylie. As I mentioned in the introduction, I both moderate and participate on this panel, as is often the case. Last time I was Janet and Tahani. This time I will just be Janet. I agree with Michael. This is seriously, to me, in my estimation, one of the greatest TV shows of all time. It's certainly one of my favorite TV shows, and I say that wholeheartedly after finishing season 4. I love, 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 love this show, and am very excited to talk about it with our panel today. So, of course, this is one of our water cooler series. What we do in the water cooler is basically just talk about the season that we're focusing on, but because this is the final season of the show, we also take a moment to reflect back. We've actually recorded episodes about seasons 1 and 2. That was the first episode. Season 3 was the second episode. This is our third episode and final episode in this series talking about The Good Place. So what we'll do is talk about the season in general, what we liked, what we didn't, and things that strike us. And then we'll look back at the whole show and reflect on how it did from the beginning to the end and what we think its relative success or lack of success was. That's kind of how it works around here at the Couch Potatoes Unite. So I'm going to get the discussion started with just what I said. What did you like? What didn't you like about season 4? This is a free-for-all. Any panelists can jump in. I would just remind you that you are on Zoom, so if you all try to jump in at once, you'll drown everybody else out. So just kind of keep that in mind. But who would like to start?
I would love to start with the fact that I think I love Disco Janet, and I don't know why Disco Janet exists, but I am so happy she does. She was just like skating around, and I'm like, where did you even come from? But I'm not mad.
That was one of the greatest payoffs, honestly, of the entire season. I mean, they could have just had that as a throwaway line. It's just like, oh yeah, Disco Janet was a thing in the 70s. It didn't work out well. I mean, and our imaginations could have, just gone crazy. But the fact that they actually had Darcy Carden come on as Disco Janet at some point, and they saw you got a chance to see her void. That was such a great payoff.
Anything that Darcy Carden does in this series is pure gold. I love her so much. She is insanely talented. She just makes Janet come to life. All the different Janets come to life in their own way. I want more Janet in my life. I want Janet. I want to be best friends with Darcy Carden. So if Darcy, if you're listening, I love you. Call me. I'd love to.
Same. Yes. I'm so glad that they realized how talented she was and sort of wrote the show to adapt to that. I think that's my theory on what happened.
That's a confirmed theory. I think they did that. They cast everybody, and then once they had everybody and kind of figured out what they had, they steered the writing more towards who they had.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think so too. And it worked out so well. All of the different Janets, and then oh my gosh, her and Derek, and Derek.
I love how Derek became this like genie type, smoky void of his own little cloud,
like Nebula, Derek. Yeah.
Dr. Piette and Derek. That's what that was.
That's Jason Mantzoukas, right?
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas, who I love.
Everything. He's hilarious. Yeah.
The floating head Derek was my favorite Derek by far. Because I couldn't stand Derek until he got spacey.
Yeah. How many times did Mindy end up rebooting Derek over the course of the series?
I think she said 151 million.
Okay, yeah. It was a lot.
Janet got rebooted.
Well, she said 151 million, and then she rebooted him again. So 151 million and one, I think.
Well, you know Mindy. She doesn't care. She
No.
gives no you-know-whats.
Zero quarks.
Zero quarks.
But do we think Derek is God now?
No.
Well, that was the answer.
I don't think there's a universe where Derek can be God. And if there is, I want off.
But Maya Rudolph was basically God.
Maya Rudolph was basically God. In this show, I mean.
I mean, she's a goddess in real life as well.
She could be. That'd be fine with me.
I just
Judge
think,
is awesome.
philosophically speaking, I hope God watches a little less of our TV.
Or at least maybe some better TV.
Or cares less about it. Maybe.
Justified is supposed to be very good.
She has a giant crush on Jethro Gibbs. It makes sense.
I mean, maybe God does listen to that many podcasts, though.
Yes, definitely. Podcast for the win.
I don't know if you know, but Bad Janet, this Bad Janet, really likes podcasts a lot.
Might be slightly addicted.
So,
I forgot to mention something.
yeah.
While we are discussing some things, for those, I'm just so on the roll, and then I realized I didn't get that on the roll. We are running a listening contest today, by the way.
Oh! I was like, what did I do wrong?
You didn't. Yet. But we are
I was about to plug our podcast. I don't understand.
No, I know. So I'm going to jump away with the plugging and say that we're having a listening contest. Now, you have to have read today's social media post on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to find out what secret phrase it is that you're listening for. You have to repeat the secret phrase, and you have to send a private message to the Couch Potatoes Unite Facebook page. Private messages will be prioritized over comments, so please follow directions. And when you do, please give us either the timestamp at which you heard the phrase being said or the actual time on the clock. We're keeping track of that. And today's prize is a Funko Pop of Janet. A collectible Funko Pop of the purple Janet. Yes, not bad Janet. Janet, that is Janet. Good Janet. Janet Prime. So, if you'd like to get your hands on a collectible Funko Pop for no cost at all, listen to our podcast today. Okay, continue with the discussion.
Woo-hoo. That was really it. I
Just
don't
thinking podcast, that's all.
There's like a running joke in our house that if
Don't say anything more. I just feel the phrase has to do with this section of the programming.
Yep, okay. I just think a podcast jar, that's all. Instead of a swear jar, it's a podcast jar.
Fair enough.
yeah,
Okay.
if she starts a sentence with, so I heard this on a podcast.
Okay.
There's the nickel that goes into the jar.
I'd hate to blow the contest before we've really gotten it underway.
We won't blow it. We won't blow it.
Okay.
I know we often like to start at the ending and work our way back. So
Good. We can do that.
You want to do that?
Are we doing that?
And we are.
I'm recommending it.
Okay.
I'm not being Jason right now.
Fair.
So
Well,
what would you like to say, Krista?
Okay, so the ending. I
It was an interesting
personally really liked it. The ending kind of made it work for me because I felt personally that there were like a hair too many twists and turns to get to where we got. Because there was the year and then we keep rebooting the series, like we keep rebooting, everyone. Which is kind of the point, but it was one too many for me. But did they stick that landing? I really particularly liked that there was a complete story for everybody, and we got to see Janet. Janet was still there, and also Michael and Take It Sleazy and the whole.
And he got to live. Like, literally live.
Did you see that his last name was Michael Goodman?
Yes, I did notice that. Mhm. That was great.
I loved it. Also, the sexy mailman cheaty calendar that he left for Eleanor for the final unknown, just leaving it on the pillow next to her. Can you make that calendar? Did NBC make that a thing? Because there was a lot of talk after the series finale aired that like people wanted the calendar.
I'm sure we could make one.
I did not. I was gonna say I did not research that, but it would surprise the heck out of me if there wasn't something like that out there.
Let me look on the Etsy and the Google.
Perfect.
It's kind of interesting that I don't know if this was intentional, but it seemed like all of the characters made the decision to go through the door in the exact opposite order they were introduced. So, like,
Because Tahani did not go through the door.
that's true, but they made the decision to move on or whatever made their decision in the exact opposite order they were introduced in the series. So, like, Jason was the last one introduced, so he made the decision first. Then it was Tahani, who was third introduced, and Chidi, then Eleanor. Again, that kind of fits with the whole idea of being, this was based, that the whole series was inspired by Lost, and Lost was based on the fact that it was the second half of the series mirrored the first half of the series. That kind of fits in with that whole thing, where it's like a loop where it was mirroring itself in a way.
I didn't know
Wow.
it was inspired by Lost.
Michael
Yeah,
talked
it-
about that in our last episode.
Huh.
Yeah, Michael Schur has said that he was inspired he and his writers were basing a lot of what they were doing in the show on Lost. They, yeah.
I feel like they did it better.
It's not
Good
hard.
Place did. The Good Place.
So, Kristen, good news, bad news. One, the calendar is based on the Jeremy Bearimy,
Yay.
but you can get all the pictures and make your own. Please be advised, it's not all mailmen. It's all seasons. I'm gonna be real up front. I think this one's my favorite.
No, nice.
Sexy Professor Chidi. And I'm gonna have to go check that out. Thanks, Krista.
Yes, so
More than 13 or more than 12 pictures because it's the Jeremy Bearimy. It's not actually 1 month.
I didn't look that hard. I'm sorry.
More months in the Jeremy Bearimy means more pictures of Chidi, which is just hysterical, and I love it.
I want a Janet calendar.
There's enough Janets to make a calendar.
Yeah, and
I know.
you can just go on like any photo printing app and you can make your own calendar.
Perfect.
Whatever you want.
You could probably make a daily calendar.
Yes.
You could.
So did we want to talk more about the finale? I feel like it's important to kind of set up the finale because you launch straight into it if we're working backwards. I mean, the whole point of this is that the Soul Squad, the four, Eleanor, Chidi, Tahani, and Jason, because they were able to save the Earth, which they do in the first half of this season, they're able to convince the judge and convince Sean, who's along for the compromise. We'll get to that in a little bit. To not reboot the Earth, which was a very real possibility. The judge agreed with Michael that the point system was flawed, but she didn't know any other way to fix it except to chuck the Earth completely and start existence over again, until they brought Chidi's memories back, and he and the rest of them devised this idea where any human soul passing through and getting ready to go into the afterlife gets to go through a psychological series of tests where they can either pass those tests and get into the good place outright, or they have to keep going through development and iterations of those tests to the point where they may never get into the good place. They're just consistently tortured by the bad place architect demons, or they eventually earn their spot in the good place. And then once they're in the good place, as the Soul Squad discovers, everybody who was in the good place up until a point, because they had no other option but to be in this divine paradise where nothing changes and everything is good and there's no conflict and there's no drama and there's no sadness and there's no anger or fear, everybody gets extremely bored and mushy-brained and they become quote-unquote happiness zombies. And they even lose faculties. Lisa Kudrow is a brilliant guest star in the episode in which they first arrive in the actual good place. They soon figure out, especially when the Good Place Council up and skedaddles and leaves Michael holding the literal, in the palm of his hands, the ability to change the good place and it's how it exists. They decide that the only way to make the good place feel meaningful is to allow people the option to exit. And what that means is they fade into the universe. They become nothingness. And that is ultimately the compromise that is struck. So what our Michael is talking about is how each of the characters decide to exit that door one by one, and apparently in reverse order from what they were originally introduced in season one, if not the season premiere, although as Kristen established, Tahani doesn't actually go through the door, though she indicates she will. She changes her mind and decides she wants to become an architect because part of her moral development is that she wants to learn all of the useful and meaningful human things she can learn, but she never really had to learn or felt the need to learn when she was on Earth hosting parties and hobnobbing with all of her name-dropping amigos kind of business. So that's what we're talking about. Now, any other comments about the series finale or about the season in general?
What exactly happens to your, like, okay, like at the very end of the finale, if we're going to do the work backwards thing, I mean, what exactly was going on with Eleanor's existence and the little orange particles and whatever? I mean, it's kind of vague, but I feel like it wasn't. I don't know. Like, I wonder if that's meant to be open to interpretation, or are we all on the same page?
So,
Or like in 10 years, they're going to be a best place where they're all at.
So
That's really another bad place.
We kind of assumed that their essence gets like transformed into good deeds. That's what I
So
thought.
like her essence dissolving into the universe inspired that one guy to give back a piece of junk mail, was it?
Because Michael always wanted a piece of junk mail. It was
Right.
one of the very inane human things that he always appreciated because he never got to have them. And in a very, by rote, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So is this a one-time good deed, a one-time orange dust particle Eleanor steering this man, and then she fades away, or is it just a thought and gone, or do they inspire others along the way? That's the question.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know, but it did seem like it definitely put Michael in a much better mood and inspired him in that moment. Although he's already
Such an inspired being.
right, but I could see how it would then in turn lead to a trail of inspiration. And also maybe just keep that person that it initially touches motivated to do more as well.
Yeah, I really like that idea, Kels, a lot. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, because like how grateful Michael was for that junk mail, like
Rewards card that was in the job.
right. And think about how that must have felt to the person who gave it to him, being that they almost threw it away, and how life-changing that probably actually felt, because they obviously don't really know what it was, and they'll probably think twice about the next time they might go to do something that seems, I don't know, inane. But they'll think about what the effect that might have on other people. So in a way, those people, Eleanor and Chidi, the Soul Squad, are now having the effect on Earth that they have been trying to have the whole time that they were in the medium place. Boom.
Kels has dropped the mic.
Oh my
I never dropped the mic.
You better not.
Proverbial mic.
Only one's allowed to be dropped.
Don't do that. I mean, so that everyone like, because we know that Selene is a sound person.
Please don't drop mics, people. You
Public
anchor your
service
sound people a
announcement
lot.
from Couch Potatoes Unite. Don't actually drop mics.
And tell us if you sweat a lot.
I also, in the finale, loved that Jason didn't actually leave, but went back to go find the necklace in his other pocket, which he never checked, and then waited around for 1,000 berries. It actually kind of became the monk he was in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, he always becomes that's what's
But
so.
then didn't understand when Janet tried to tell him that he was kind of like a monk.
Still a little bit of work there.
But not really. He was content.
Yeah, Jason really only had to reach a low bar, and he reached it. So,
Yeah. Fun fact, did you guys know that Manny, who plays Jason, he actually took that necklace from the set after they were done filming, and he saved it and gave it to Darcy Carden in real life.
oh.
And she was wearing it during their reunion episode. She had it wrapped around on her wrist. as like a little.
Oh, that's so cute.
Cute.
That's cute. I just wanted to say that in the lexicon of series finales, this ranks up there as one of the best series finales that goes with the show that it's ending. I can't think of a better series finale for the show. And I was a little nervous, but not too nervous, because I felt that they had planned much of it out very, very well. And that each season seemed to follow a pre-planned sort of storyboard, and that eventually the season before feeds into the next season in a way that feels very organic. And I felt the same way about how it led into the series finale. I watched this season twice, which is probably the first time I've done that for the show, which isn't to say that I'm not going to rewatch it a million times later. I haven't felt the need to do that. I did this time. The first time, I was so busy kind of reacting to
what was going on and just kind of awe-inspired by what was going on. But the second time, I cried more than I intended to cry. And not because I felt that the show or the finale itself was sad, quite the opposite. It was more because each note that they hit with each character felt so satisfying and so perfect to me that it kind of welled up in my throat and it touched my heart. And in the world that we have right now, and so much is going on, for the brief hour that this finale is, and watching it both times, it just allowed me to kind of have hope for the world. And I wish that I hope more people see this show and its progression, its evolution in this finale, because I think there's a lot to take away from it, which is that humans can improve. And it isn't necessarily a perfection in the traditional definition. It's a perfection that is individual to each person. And I think that's a very important lesson to take through life. And I'm so happy that they made this show. I was actually really surprised that we saw the good place. I was not expecting it. I was expecting that would be a vague sort of just like something that you thought of yourself. You know, it was the title of the show, but it wasn't. We never actually got to see what it was in this universe. And
or they would get there and it would like cut to black.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I was really surprised by that, and I was surprised that it worked so well.
Yeah, I was expecting it. I don't think the show would have been as impactful at the end of season 4 if they wouldn't have actually been in the good place. Because, you know, we followed them, you know, for 4 years on this journey, and to not see them get to that ultimate, I would have felt a little cheated. So I completely agree with Kylie. This is one of the best series finales I have ever seen, and I also did get a little emotional as, you know, they were getting their endings. It felt right. It felt appropriate, and you can tell that they've had this mapped out, you know, for a very long time. This is something that I really love, where they take time to really do the quality over the quantity. I liked that it was, you know, all like 13-ish episodes a season. It was compact. You know, everything had a purpose and a point. There was no filler in this show at all as a whole, and even in season 4. And I love that they were still able to surprise us, and they continue to surprise us well into the finale. I loved that Tahani decided to become an architect after having this wonderful good place life with, you know, reconciling and living a wonderful life with her family, learning how to make furniture, how to be a little woodworker, like everything she learned, and then she's like, you know what? I want to do this and help more people.
With a cameo, by the way, by Nick Offerman.
And because who else would teach her how to do some woodworking and furniture making in the good place but the man himself?
But was it Nick Offerman or was it Ron Swanson? That's what I wanted.
Nick Offerman.
Yeah, that was a nod to the real Nick, because he does that in real life.
He does. He has his own wood shop. Like he literally built a canoe. There's his memoir is something about build your own canoe. Yeah.
Everything on the show actually he made.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that they said that Ron made, Nick made. And even in their little COVID reunion special, where he was coming to the, grizzle call from his wood shop, that's his legit wood shop in his house. That was cool.
And in real life.
Yeah.
He's very similar to his character, but not completely.
Yeah. But I love that Tahani wanted to be an architect, and I love that Michael gave her her first bow tie to wear when she started. I love that little touch. I just thought that was so sweet of him.
And they were peacock feathers.
They were. The subliminal messaging is not lost. They're on the Peacock Network.
Well, I like to think it had multi-layers.
It does. It was just like, it's NBC. I get it.
Corporate synergy.
Hey, it wasn't as bad as that 30 Rock special.
I couldn't finish the 30 Rock special. I tried watching it.
That's a whole other podcast panel, which we will have in the future.
I couldn't resist. I'm still mad.
Okay, but we're in the good place now. We're in the good place. Have a milkshake, why don't you? And be in the good place.
I think the brilliance of this show is that by writing it where it ends in the good place, we as an audience were able to see all of our favorite characters actually get their happy ending and the best ending. And I don't think that shows often end that way, because that's not real life. It's not what is expected, and most shows are like, well, we can't do that. But without it being hokey or Deus Ex Machina or whatever. And with this show, it was a natural progression for it to end that way. And I appreciate, like Kristen said, with Tahani's ending. That she wanted to do more and do the architect thing, and I appreciate that they were also not stereotypical endings. Like it wasn't like, oh well, Chidi and Eleanor needed to finally be alone and be in love for so long, and then they were both happy and they went off together. And Jason and it wasn't like, oh love, or oh so-and-so had to finally accomplish their goal. Or it could have very well easily have been for Tahani, her parents accepting her and loving her and to reconcile that relationship. And instead it wasn't. It was, building on herself and growing. And for everybody it seemed to be personal growth. Even Jason, who just had to play the perfect game of Madden. The fact that he was in the actual stadium playing his goal.
And she made a decision.
Yeah. And he made that decision and just did it.
Am I the only one who can see that my hair is Jacksonville?
Nope.
That's what it looks like.
I love it.
I think I'm just gonna leave it.
I think you should get that done.
Blue and black streaks in your hair.
It's on this side is a
Jaguar. And a jaguar.
And it's one of those things where it's layered, into the hair.
The holographic hair, yeah.
Yourself when you actually do that. Yeah.
Yep. I'm seeing. I can vision it now.
I also really appreciated the fact that even though they had their happy endings, and once they got to the good place itself, they still needed to work through that too. There was still, it would have been really easy for them also to have gotten to the good place and just kind of ended, rather than them having to finish fixing it. And can we just talk about that council for a second? Because I don't know that I've ever been so annoyed with happy people in my life.
I think I have, but okay.
Yeah, but literally, they did nothing. But I don't have words for that happy place council. I can't.
The minute they started putting that robe on Michael and like trying to get him to sign that contract, I was like, Michael, read that contract. They might be good, but they are pulling a fast one on you. You better read it.
But are they really good? That's the interesting thing about seeing The Good Place in the finale, the actual Good Place. I mean, I agree with Krista, and I think I would have felt gypped if we didn't actually see the actual Good Place. And I also want to bring up Lisa Kudrow again, because big Friends fan right here. She plays Hypatia of whatever her name is, or however you say her name. And she's, of course, brilliant. But I wanted to kind of point out, do you remember in the earlier episode when Michael was trying to convince the judge not to reboot the Earth? And he brought up Friends, and he said, well, you know, probably Joey would end up in the bad place, and Rachel, and Ross, and Monica, and but Phoebe. Remember, she's great, you know? And then who shows up 3 episodes later? It's Phoebe!
That was probably intentional.
I wish that there had been a connection also with Chidi having her poster on the wall, but really being Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And some Lisa Kudrow mix mash moosh would have been.
She was amazing.
You know, Ursula or something.
Maybe there was, and we should go back and watch it again.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's what I'm like. This show, I feel like they don't mention something unless it actually is either going to be called up later or was already in it. So maybe they showed his bedroom wall, and there was a poster of her with.
Oh, well, we did see Kid Chidi, so we must have.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we did see the bedroom wall, and we just didn't notice it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back.
I think if she's on his bedroom wall, he's younger than I expected.
Laura Croft?
I thought we were talking about Lisa Kudrow.
No, Laura Croft, Tomb Raider, was on his bedroom wall with Hypatia's face on it.
Got it.
But I think I would have noticed if Laura Croft was on his bedroom wall. That's what I'm confused about. I would have been like, hey! So,
I don't remember seeing his bedroom, to be quite honest.
So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think we saw college, and we saw kitchen and dining room of mom and dad when he was a kid, and their living room.
And could have had it in college. I don't think he was quite that cool.
Well, we didn't see a dorm room. I think we just saw like his apartment and not really a wall behind him, and he was talking to his friend. And we also saw him talking to his professor, and his professor chucking his many page doctoral dissertation back at him.
Gosh.
Also, the entire section of Eleanor and Chidi reading each other's
Their files.
not their transcripts, files, was not. I don't know, that entire scene, Eleanor just kept throwing me for a loop. She's like, you can't read it. And I was like, that tracks. And then she's like, wait, no, read it. And I was like, that doesn't track. Now I'm confused. And then they actually read it. And Chidi was like, you can't read mine. You'll hate me. It's just like, oh my God, it's us.
But the lovely... Okay. That we got some personal insight there. But the lovely thing is that he didn't hate Eleanor, and in fact was worried that he was too boring for her. And I think that's one of the magic. So in the last episode, we spent a lot of time talking about Eleanor and Chidi, and there was reaction to the idea that they were sort of forced back together again. At least that's how you felt in the instant moment that we were sort of dissecting season 3. But I think this season shows us why it wasn't as forced and why they work so well together. I mean, and Jason points it out to Chidi after that and tricks him into, look, you have faith in me and Janet. We're so different. You two are so different. You're fine. Opposites attract, yo. You know? So, and that's what I love about this show is that it takes everything that you expect to be the case and flips it on its head, because it's trying to tell you, look, you can't judge somebody in the moment that you're reacting.
Yeah.
Also, Jason's little insights all the time, and his trolley problem that wasn't the trolley problem, but still worked really well. I love his moments of like pure. It's such a genius to be able to say something so. I don't even know. It's just
coherent.
I loved his line about the Montagues and Capulets. He's like, I have read some books.
She's like, how do you know that? My other favorite moment is when he does the two really good sports metaphors, and Tahani's like, that's two examples. What is wrong? Or the other part is when since he's the first one who decides to exit existence at the end, and he says something to the effect of, you guys all look really sad, and I know because that's how my teachers reacted whenever I raised my hand in class.
Didn't he like say see you later or something when he went through the door?
The first time or the second time? Because the second time it was Cheaty, wait up.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. He thought he was going to catch up with Cheaty because he forgot again that he wasn't going to actually be.
Also, this is changing the subject, but I think it's really funny that nobody until Michael at the end thought to get the frog-loving doorman a real frog.
And that entire moment where he goes, I have the perfect name. And then it was Mr. Hoppy Lips.
And Michael was so sad.
I love the frog-loving doorman.
Mike O'Malley is a great actor. Very
I loved all his frog swag. He had so much.
Well, I don't know. Okay.
The props department must have had an awesome time.
Did anyone else have this as a kid where, like, I say I like something, and then all of a sudden you have, like, 3,000 with them?
Well, of course.
Dolphins.
Frogs. I like frogs. And it got to this point where I had to be like, I had to, like, outright say, I don't like frogs anymore. I need you all to stop.
Yeah.
Because I think I had, like, my mom did this too. She, had like crosses on her wall, and people got into their heads that she was collecting them, and she.
Well, the doorman, to be fair, he never articulated any interest beyond the frogs.
No. In fact, I don't think he was mad about it. I'm pretty sure.
No, we are not the same.
Yeah. But
You're not a fictional character guarding the crossroads to the afterlife?
No.
Oh.
I should have been the frog man. I could have just taped a bunch of frogs to me.
The point gets across.
I also really enjoyed that moment. First off, I loved Vicky coming back to be the like head trainer person. Loved that.
I'm going to call her the project manager. I don't think that's what
Yeah.
they called her, but that's basically what she was.
I love it.
It was very satisfying to see her take over that project. And also to see her be like, now watch this. Just a miniature bear with chainsaws isn't gonna work.
Oh my gosh.
And then
I enjoyed when she channeled Tahani right in front of Tahani.
loved it. and seeing Brent for that moment, not learning.
brief moment. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
So I feel like that's a natural transition to go rewind back to the beginning of the
Brent is
season.
the golf guy.
Yes.
I did not like him.
No, I don't. If you did like Brent, comment on our Facebook page and tell us why, because I really don't think you're supposed to. And then,
Yeah, especially if you watch the show. I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, if you watch this show and you think Brent is a cool dude, I don't understand.
Please tell us why.
but you are given the opportunity to explain yourself live and in person virtually. So, do so. But that does give us a chance to talk about the beginning of the season, because before we even get to the real good place and before we even get to the new system for the psychological testing and Vicky as the project manager, they have a year to kind of figure out this experiment where the bad place sends them humans that they think are going to test the ability of the flawed system and expose its flaws and see if they can't get humans to improve. And the ones they send include a chauvinistic, racist, golf-playing guy named Brent, who, he went to Princeton because his daddy, went there, and he'd hard work for it, hard work. And then there was John, who is a blogger, a tabloid blogger, who posted a lot of mean stuff about Tahani when they were alive. Then there was Simone, Chidi's ex Simone, the research scientist from wherever they were in Australia, who basically did not think the good place or the place that she was in was real. It was just a figment of her head, and so she did a lot of wacky things. And then finally, we at first meet, I believe her name is Nora, the older woman who's actually Chris the demon in disguise, who seems like she's not interested in anything when really he's just there to kind of throw the whole thing into Fakakta. And when they discover that Chris is the demon in disguise, then the Judge Jen, played by Maya Rudolph, replaces that mole with Chidi because his memories have already been wiped. So what do we think about those four and this whole concept? That's like the first third to half of the season.
I think that was the first time I cried during this season, was when Chidi's like, I'll do it. And then they had that moment right before he wiped his brain. And I cried because I'm a crier. I'll admit I cried in the season finale a lot. But yes, but no, that was the first time I cried in the season because, Chidi and Eleanor, and just, lots of feelings.
Okay. In the third season finale, you mean?
Yes. You're right. That was then.
That was then. He starts the season completely blank-minded. Welcome, everything is fine, which you can sort of see, but this computer doesn't green screen functionally enough to see the whole sign. I am representing the Phoenix Dirtbag today, by the way. These are hearts on my shirt. If you haven't seen them, Eleanor always wears patterned shirts and things when she's in the good place. I'm not wearing the actual Phoenix Dirtbag ensembles, which are slightly more revealing, although they probably would be cooler. Anyway, I mean cooler temperature-wise, not cooler like, hey, cool. So.
Kind of seem like that this experiment could be, sorry, I like Lost, so I'm bringing it back again. But you could kind of interpret that that's the sideways story that
you
they
could.
Last season of Lost.
Please explain, Michael. This is one of the questions that we have later, so you might as well bring it up now because you're the one on this Lost theory, and I like Lost too. But I'm having trouble seeing, other than little kernels of inspiration, I'm not sure that I totally...
Well,
Please be advised that some of us didn't watch it past season 3.
I never watched it at all. So.
Were you planning on it?
First half of the series.
Were you planning on it?
Nah.
Were you planning on it, Krista? Watching Lost?
I know what happens.
Oh, okay. So
I don't.
spoiler for anybody who's not watched Lost and thinks they're going to, overcome all of the negative hype about it and do so. Michael, proceed.
So, what happened in the final season of Lost is there was a sideways world, they did flashbacks at the beginning of the series. Eventually, after the halfway point, after season 3, they did flash forwards. And now, after they did the flashbacks and the flash forwards, they went in a completely different direction in the final season, which was the sideways, flash sideways. And so, I made a prediction that we were going to see some sort of a sideways world in the final season, and I kind of feel like the experiment is sort of like that because it wasn't really the good place that they had created in the first half of the series, and it wasn't really the bad place or the real good place, so it was kind of like a alternate reality of what the good place could be, at least of the way Michael created it. So I feel like that kind of was meant to be that sort of sideways look at, the sideways world function that's like, well, what could have been in Lost with the other characters if they had never gone to the island? So in many ways, you could say that the characters that they were experimenting on are extreme examples of our favorite characters. Maybe not like one-for-one correlation, but they certainly have extreme examples of their personality quirks. And it was sort of like an alternate way of looking at the way Michael had put the good place together to torture these four people. At least that's what I'm going with right now. But I thought it was a really cool thing. I like the experiment. I like the fact that we kept with it throughout the season. I like the fact that there was some huge stakes when it finally ended, and you were like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. So, I don't know. I thought it was really cool.
Lost Watchers, do we subscribe to Michael's theory that the first half of this season or third of this season was a Flash Sideways-like motif?
I mean, I'm also kind of looking it up on the Google real quick while we're sitting here. So yes, Lost did inspire Michael Schur, but that wasn't the only thing that inspired him. There were, he, like The Leftovers also inspired him, which, that was created by...
The judge also watches, by the way, The Leftovers.
Yeah, so that was also created by Damon Lindelof, who did Lost, and also the play No Exit, too, where, the famous line is hell is other people. So he's pulling from so many different things. And he also, Michael Schur, also did a lot of reading, like philosophical and ethics and morality, and even, some more religious-based reading. So there's so many things. So I can't subscribe that everything is correlated with Lost. I can't get into that. I can see how definitely inspired, but I don't think it's following it in a beat kind of a pattern.
I'm with Kristen on that. I've watched Lost multiple times with the hopes that I can appreciate it a little bit more each time. The jury's still out on that, but I don't get the sense that The Good Place is following each and every beat of Lost, especially because Lost was definitely going for something that was a little bit... the only real correlation that I can see other than the flashbacks is the fact that the characters were supposed to improve themselves in order to get beyond their circumstances. But the circumstances are so different that I don't see Lost really that much. But I appreciate that he likes it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I tried it. Oh, go ahead, Kels.
Oh, shoot. I don't know. I was going to say something about it. Oh, about the torture device thing. What was I going to say?
Penis flattening?
Penis flattening.
Penis flattening.
Wow.
That's not what I was going to say.
That's what I'm here for.
Thanks for, getting my brain going again, though. That helped. No, so I don't know. I think that it was a poorly designed experiment.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think, and I think that it failed.
I think it was a good idea, but yeah, I think the actual putting it together, especially being as they obviously, Sean was pulling on their legs from the very beginning,
with Chris,
with Chris
and Bad Janet,
designed specifically to annoy them,
that Norwegian woman.
Yeah,
I think it's Nora. I could be wrong.
She was very bland.
She was supposed to be bland.
but
Linda.
Right, I think it was a very good idea and concept that they got the short end of the stick. And that, in a hypothetical situation, it would have worked out really well. But it didn't in that situation.
How did it fail?
Well, I just feel like it started really well, and then like once they figured out that Chris was part of it, and then like
Bad Janet.
Well, I mean, they didn't win.
But
They did fail. They proved their point. But even in proving their point, they didn't prove as much as they thought they were going to.
But
They wanted, but it still was a successful experiment in the fact that they were able to convince the judge that humans can improve.
what they
was the point of the
yeah.
experiment.
no, not their side of the experiment.
Wait, what?
I'm talking about. Sorry, I have a migraine. So my brain's not working really great. No, I'm talking about. I think that the purpose of like the intention of Sean's intentions were like really his methods of trying to sabotage the experiment failed, and they were very bad.
Sure.
Like, they were not. They were very poorly executed and not well thought out at all.
Why? But that's really the case, right? Probably there's only a handful of competent demons. One of them being Vicky, one of them being Michael, and one of them being Glenn. Shut up, Glenn. I mean, Glenn just constantly points out Sean's flaws, and everything is going on. You know,
Right.
So you're saying the bad places plan to sabotage the overall experiment with a poorly thought out sabotage plan, and they ultimately failed because it was so poorly done? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And
Okay.
so, but I also feel like it led to the first part of the season being very frustrating to watch, because it was like, okay, I know they're just gonna like overcome this anyway, and I'm just getting slightly annoyed with.
That sort of links to what I was saying about how it was like too many reboots.
Mm-hmm. I do see what you were saying. Like I still love the show, and I still like was there to like stick through it and like watch it because I really wanted to see how it was going to end, and it didn't by any means like slow me down or make me want to watch it less. I think it just made me. I think it made me feel as frustrated as Eleanor was feeling. But I didn't want to feel that way. You know? So maybe that was their intention and it was successful, but I was just like, oh my god, I know that they're gonna get through this, so can we just like.
I guess for me it was more like they're going to overcome this, but how are they going to overcome it? You know,
Right.
how are they going to succeed? How are they going to convince the judge? How are they going to? How is it all going to end? I mean, I figured it would be a happy ending in some way. I mean,
Yeah.
I was of the mentality that they wouldn't necessarily defeat the bad play, which they didn't. And there was that whole compromise, but I had no idea how they would get there. So yeah, that's what kept me going, and that's what kept me being like on the edge, literally on the edge of my seat. I have never been on the edge of my seat for a sitcom before. Because the suspense and the idea of like what is going to happen, how are they going to do this, how are they going to wrap everything up. I was just like, I was watching live. Like I would watch the episode on Hulu the night before, or I was occasionally actually lucky enough to watch the episodes as they were airing. So I actually had to wait a week in between episodes, and I was just like, Thursday's coming up, I gotta watch it, So
Yeah, I agree
like-
with. Oh, I was gonna say
One
I
nice-
agree with. Okay.
Oh, sorry. You go.
I just wanted to agree with Michael's point. Basically, for me, of course they were going to get past it, but that's kind of true of all of the other seasons. It's a constant go round. I think that's deliberate. That go round, that merry-go-round that we are constantly writing, because it mirrors what life is like. And what we see is that they're figuring it out in the afterlife as well, and they've blown apart this whole system that's been in place since the dawn of time, many Jeremy Bearemies before. And so, of course, they're going to get past it, but it really is how. It's presenting a new, unique, and fresh vision in terms of how the plot of the sitcom kind of unfolds. So I was with Michael. I don't know if I would say I was on the edge of my seat, because that's a phrase I reserve for maybe something scary. But at the same time, I was curious to know how they were going to convince the judge in the end, and especially with Brent as one of their characters, because he didn't get better until the very last half second. He didn't even get his apology out, because of course he's offended every character up until this point. And Chidi finally tells him he's a bad person, and then Chidi thinks they're actually in the bad place, and Eleanor and Michael play along like the first twist of the show. Ha! Yes, you're right. And that seems to finally get Brent to think about the fact that he might actually be a bad person, but it cuts short before he can even say the apology. So then it's like, did they? Were they? And it's only through Michael's successful graphs and articulate persuasion that the judge finally agrees with, yeah, the system is flawed. However, it's too complicated to do anything about, so I'll reboot the earth. Reboot the earth. Solid.
Nice.
I was going to say that even though the 1 year experiment dragged, we got to see Simone think her brain was melting. I enjoyed that because she's amazing. Her accent brings me joy. Everything about her makes me happy inside, and her thinking that this was all a hallucination with the foam fingers.
That storyline with Simone caught me completely off guard. I had no idea that they were going to go that route. Even though now that looking back on it, it's like the most obvious thing they could have done, because she's a neuroscientist. Of course she's going to think that heaven or any kind of afterlife is a figment of her brain coping, as it's dying. And that makes perfect sense. But I just never ever expected that's what they would do with her character. And they did it so well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Although I will say, one of your questions, Kylie, is I don't know if you want to. This might be foreshadowing, but one of your moderation questions was if there were any characters that you thought got short shrift. I would say after the experiment ends, I feel like you don't get enough of John and Simone. Brent, I think, seeing that one little inkling of what happens to him in the finale, that was perfect. But you don't really see what happens to John. You don't really. We see Simone in the finale, but it's just that she's friends with, Chidi, and they're able to spend time together. But I feel like there wasn't enough there. I wanted to see more of him.
We see John in the finale.
Yeah, John comes back and says goodbye to Tahani during her goodbye party. And in the way he says goodbye, he basically implies that they've spent a lot of time together. Now, we don't see Simone again. That's true. Simone...
No, we do see her too, don't we? At
the spaghetti dinner pizza place.
Oh, right! The pizza place! That's right, she is. So we do see everybody. Everybody gets a taste, a flavor. And I'm okay with getting just a taste and a flavor because we spent so much time with them up front.
Yeah, I do feel like we got the least of Simone. Well, no, we got the least of Brent, but I don't care. But I think we got less of Simone than we did of John, technically.
I guess I wanted to see a scene between Simone and John after they escaped the hole, the big hole, sinkhole, and decided like they weren't going to bother saving Brent. And they kind of just ran off and went somewhere. I don't know where. I know they probably got frozen in stasis after the experiment ended. But I feel like a scene between them being like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do in this afterlife? Is there something? I don't know. I feel like there could have been an interesting minor storyline between those two where they could have wrapped up their characters a little bit more. I could be wrong. or maybe just been filler. I don't know.
I think it could be a fun deleted scene.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we need it. I think that they did I feel like we have, and I don't know, I like that they didn't spend too much time on the secondary characters, because I feel like that would have pulled focus away from the major plot line.
I agree with Kels as well.
Yep.
I think what they gave us was just enough to not leave us wondering. And by that point, we had left the experiment. So I guess maybe I'm heartless, but I didn't actually care what happened to Simone or John or Brent, because I felt like they were going to go through the tests and get there as they needed to get there. And that was enough for me to know. And the fact that we even got a glimpse, that was fine. But I cared more about Eleanor and Chidi and Jason and Tahani and Michael and Janet. That's who I wanted to see. So.
And obviously they successfully achieved their test because they both ended up in the good place at the end. So.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I think what I'd like to do, I don't know if there's anything that you haven't mentioned that you want to get out right now that's burning on your heart as far as what you loved or what you didn't like about the season. But what I'd like to do is go over some of the predictions that were made. I feel it's necessary to do this because some of them were really quite spot on at the time. Michael, if I had a prize for you, I'd give it to you, but we'll get there. So,
before we get to that, we haven't mentioned the Chi-Chi episode, which is my absolute favorite episode the entire season.
Oh, okay.
Where memories back. Where that episode just absolutely floored me. I just thought it was absolutely brilliantly written. The way I love the idea of it all happening in an instant, because you can see that it was very Inception-esque. I thought, with the whole idea of the slow motion of you seeing the whatever the heck Eleanor was drinking, and the everything happening literally in a snap, but like going through his life step by step, and understanding what has led him to become the person he is at that moment in the ending of the show. It just I don't know. It just absolutely that. I know, Kylie, you said you got touched by the finale. I was touched more by that episode than the finale. I love the finale, but I think that episode to me was the climax of the series. And the way it wrapped up with the answer is, there is no answer, but Eleanor is the answer. That is a beautiful summation of this entire series.
I would disagree that it's a climax for the series, but I'll give that it's a climax for Chidi's character. I mean, for me, that episode was not my favorite. It wasn't my least favorite, though. I enjoyed it, but the moment that you're talking about, which is he gives, before he wipes his memories, we're treated to a flashback where he talks to Janet and he says, "Please keep this note for me." And then when his memories come back, he asks for the note. She actually says to him, "If your memories are back, you know what the note says. Do you still want the note?" And he says yes. And then that's what we find out is on it. I think that moment is very touching and fuels what we see in the series finale. The climax for the series, I feel, is that each of the characters realize their true potential by the time they exit existence. And you've already pointed out, or somebody did, I think it was Krista, Chidi is able to achieve a decision, the most important decision other than the Eleanor piece, in that moment, because he had this realization, this epiphany before. If he hadn't had that, his ending wouldn't have felt earned. Just saying.
I guess I only see it as the climax of the series, because to me, the idea of coming to the realization that there is no answer is telling us that he's the one that comes up with the idea of, the tests and the fact that we have to now I'm having trouble articulating myself. But I feel like that act of creating compromise of what the afterlife is going to be for everyone from now on is like the most important, feels like the most important moment of the whole series. That now that we have this, everything else feels like the falling action of what's the result of this decision. So I don't know. I guess I'm getting a little more pedantic about writing and that sort of thing. So I'll stop.
Well, but also there's still build after that moment. So if you're going to be pedantic about writing, I would argue that you just undersold your own point. Because that whole compromise talk happened the episode following that, and they hadn't reached that decision until they stood in front of a chalkboard with Timothy Oliphant and convinced the judge that this was their new system. So
technically, there can be many peaks and valleys.
That is true, yes.
He was talking about the climax of the whole series, though.
No, I'm just stirring the pot.
I understand. So,
because you can have a lot of little bloop, 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 till there's a big one, but
she's suggesting that the plot is a Jeremy Bearimy.
You know me and my love for the character-driven exposition, so I could just watch people live their lives all day and enjoy myself.
If I had more time to actually construct an essay, maybe I can make a better argument, but I've never been very good at that.
I don't know why you're Michael. I think you're cheating.
Yeah. He is cheating. We've talked about this.
You are cheating. And I mean, I can't make a decision to save my life, but that's the only thing I got.
Well, even though Michael may...
It's probably why that episode touched me more, is because I related to cheating so much. So that's probably it.
Probably. I'll give you that, Michael. But even though we might disagree on whether or not this is the climax of the series, it should be noted that in our season 3 episode, Michael correctly predicted the end of the series. In fact, his precise words, and I'll get there. He said the Soul Squad is not going to defeat the Bad Place or to defeat Sean, but will need to come to some understanding about the afterlife as a compromise between the Good Place and the Bad Place. When Sean won't want to compromise, perhaps with the afterlife being the place to make oneself a better person. Or a better spirit, I added in the talking points. Better person is where you ended. That is in fact what happened. So what led you to make that prediction?
I wish I could remember my thought process back then. I feel like it was, that just seemed like the way to go is because you have the two extremes, and the only way to resolve the flaws of both extremes would be to come together as a compromise. I guess that's kind of what I was going with. It's like that seems like the only logical way to do it.
Okay. Well, that compromise, it results in this whole new system, right? And the system with the psychological testing and Vicky as the project manager, it actually evolves into a council where Michael and Chidi represent the actual good place, Sean and Vicky represent the actual bad place, and Janet comes and Judge Jen comes. But over time, the psychological testing is proven to be so successful that the judge dissolves the council. In fact, she's listening to podcasts, and she says, podcasts, there's like 1 billion of them, and they just keep coming. Right? Hi! We're a podcast! Judge, if you're listening, Couch Potatoes Unite. Tweet at us at CPU Podcast. Maya Rudolph, if you're out there, we'd love to talk to you too.
I'm sure we'll get to the Timothy Oliphant series at some point.
It's on the list. Justified, it's on the list. If you'd like to join a panel about Justified, please get in contact with us via our social media or email couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. Okay, some other predictions that came true. Let's see. Well, Selene, you basically were convinced that, because they were initially talking about the 4 humans that the bad place brought in as torture devices for each of the individual members of the Soul Squad. You at that point said, I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think that's really what they're going for. And I think that that is in fact what we saw. It was an abandoned concept. What made you think of that prediction at the time?
Well, I think in the very same way that Michael thought that he was creating the perfect torture system between them all, I thought that this was going to be another version of that. They didn't do quite as well as Michael did in actually making a friend group, but they did make a good attempt. They tried. It was something.
It was something. Okay.
Something bigger than nothing.
It's going to be a mirror, sort of.
You what?
I just assumed it was going to be some sort of a mirror. Maybe a cloudy mirror, but you know.
Like Harry Potter?
No, like I thought this was going to be a friend group that didn't work as well, but would also form a friend group.
I was thinking of the mirror
Of Aristide, yeah.
Sorry.
Michael, you suggested that there would be no pert tied with a bow ending. It would just be an open ending.
Boy, was I wrong.
So you agree that the ending has a pretty finite trajectory?
Big time. Yeah, big time. I mean, there's absolutely no other way that this show could have. I mean, if this show were a Christmas present, I would think that the present was wrapped by Martha Stewart. It was so well wrapped. So, and the bow was just so perfect. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm okay being wrong with that prediction.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so let's look back. Now let's take a moment to look back at The Good Place. Okay? We've talked about the whole show. We've watched the whole show. First of all, what I'd like you to do as a panel, we're going to go around the water cooler, which in this case is around the Zoom window, which everybody sees what I see. What I'd like you to do is grade The Good Place at the end. You can give it a letter grade. You can rank it according to the CPU star scale, otherwise known as the star business, as panelist Hillary likes to call it, where it's 5 stars is, holy smokes, it's so great, to 1 star. Will you wait a second? To 1 star, pass on this one, guys. Oh, you said not that one?
No, I said, that one, as in, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay, yes. So the star scale. You can do whatever quantifiable way you want to measure this show in your estimation. How would you rank The Good Place? Go. Go.
I'm going to say 4.75. Out of... Wait, no, are we going out of 10 or 5?
5 if you're going to do that.
4.75.
Now, why the 0.25 lower? What's the tiny little bit? What's the Brent thing that's keeping you from a perfect 5-star system?
Come back to me. I mean, because it isn't my perfect show. It's funny, and I really liked it in the beginning. For me, that reveal at the end of season 1 was my most moment of the whole entire thing. And I like beginnings. I like exposition, and I felt like it got a little out of control there at the end. I mean, the ending was great, but like the middle of like season 3 and the middle of season 4 were just a little bit for me.
Okay.
But like the one-liners, which I love, were killer. Especially I mean, the Ballad as Donkey Doug is still like probably my favorite. I love a good Jason episode. Truly, because he's like the reverse of me.
Yeah, I wonder if it's harder, and I don't know where everyone on this panel stands, and I'm wondering if it's harder, like that same part of the series that you're talking about for people with anxiety to watch those parts of the seasons, because I struggled with that same area, and it's a lot of like, okay, we've already been through this. Okay, we've already been through, like,
Yeah, we've been through this, and it was like disorderly.
and it's like, okay, I know it's gonna just work out, and everyone else is like, yeah, I know it's gonna work out. So like, how? I'm excited to know, and I'm like, but yeah, I know it's gonna work out. So just go.
No, I am very much one of those people that like reads the ending to everything ahead of time to make sure that I'm going. At least if it's a movie, like this movie I don't know something about, I'm like, I'm gonna read the synopsis to make sure there isn't anything in there that I'm going to object to and be upset about before I see it. I don't like spoilers, that's not even a thing. Whatever.
See, I don't like spoilers, but I will be like, okay, but like, what type of movie is it? Like, have you seen it? Is it any good? Like, I will strongly like case things out, but. I mean, I still, like, since I'm talking, I'll just go next, but I still would give it 5 stars, because I still very much love it, and it's at, like, the top of my list of favorite shows. And I would watch it over and over again, but I did struggle with kind of that same part of the seasons, and so I'm just wondering if, I wonder if that's, like, a commonality. If anyone's watching and has some insight on that, let me know. I'm just curious.
I would also give this show a 5, an A++, a 10 out of 10, all the everythings, because I love it. I think the character work in the show, the emotional like breadth of this show, the fact that even the episodes that in past podcasts we've talked about, even the episodes that weren't my favorite, all still emotionally tracked and all had like points that showed up later. Like I remember when they were on Earth and kind of like interacting again with people and their families and stuff, we kind of got a little. We talked about being a little lost and being like, well, it wasn't really all that important, but I think it really was when you get to season 4. Like, in season 3, it felt disconnected, but when you brought in season 4, it all tied back in. They were playing a long game that really did pay off, and I think that the emotional complexities and just the complexity of the show itself, the reveals, the one-liners, the characters, and just like even the presentation, just like the beauty of everything you were looking at, the absurdity sometimes. I absolutely loved when we saw Bad Janet's void, when the judge was looking for the end of the world clicky thingy, and we're in Bad Janet's void, and the terrible drawing that Chidi accidentally created, that monstrosity showed up in Bad Janet's void, and it was like,
also, what was the billboard, like Pirates of the Caribbean 16 or something?
Yeah, I think it was 12, but yeah.
Well, yeah, like
and you know, like we mentioned how if something's mentioned, it's there for a reason, and all of just there were so many layers, and like I remember after watching the first season, I watched that first season like 3 or 4 times before we did the podcast, and not because I felt like I needed to watch it again to relive anything. It just was so entertaining, and I just every rewatch I get something more. I make more connections. There's so much packed in, and it doesn't feel like it's packed in. It just it's the present you never stop unwrapping, and it's still just as good. It's not actually getting smaller. Somehow it's still the same size, and it's glorious. And I don't know that there's ever been another show, and one that had such a great ending.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Selene just said. She heard everything in my brain and it came out of her mouth. Yes, 5 stars. I would give it 10 if I could. A++ to infinity. Everything about the show was intentional. The attention to detail was impeccable. The continuity. Oh my gosh, some shows have horrible problems with continuity. This one, they had it down. I'll even go with, how it was, the cinematography of the show, the costuming, the casting, even to the smallest characters. Every element of the show I absolutely loved. And I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm not going to rehash everything Selene said, but know that I agree with her completely and would repeat everything if I could. Love the show. Ever.
I totally agree with you about the continuity thing, because I'm like the biggest yeller about people forgetting into their own book, and they never did that, which is super neat. And then the casting, Nicole Byer as the male lady,
Yes,
all the jazz hands. And I mean, I don't love stunt casting as a rule, but they really did a good job of getting fun people in there where it didn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it seemed like it was all people that Michael Schur had worked with before. There was a lot of, whether it was Parks and Rec or he had the connection with, Lisa Kudrow being in the NBC Universal family. It seemed like there was a point, because even like Kristen Bell was on Parks and Rec for a little bit. So it was kind of fun to see that. Yeah, she was. She was a government councilwoman from Eagleton. Mm-hmm. She was in 2 or 3 episodes. She had a pretty good.
She was.
Yeah.
Eagleton.
I literally can't say any more than what you've all said about this being a 5-star show. I would agree with that. I could see this show being the basis of one of those modern, pretentious college courses, philosophy as done by The Good Place, or eschatology as done by The Good Place.
Look, I don't care how pretentious this is. I'm signing up for this class right now.
Yeah, I'll take this class.
Right. I would take it too. I feel like I could easily learn about philosophy based on what this show was giving to us. But I could see this being a cultural touchstone in down the line. This is I don't know if that'll be the case. I would like to think so. I hope so. And yeah, this is a 5-star show for me.
Same here. 5 stars, A++. And I don't give 5 stars very easy. I have to be truly in love with the show. And if you recall from the season 1 to 2 episode, I didn't start off at 5 stars. I wasn't exactly sure. I was very close. I think I was in the 4.5, 4.75 range. But after all 4 seasons and the mapping that is being discussed and the continuity, I'm a big stickler for continuity. They did not fail when it comes to continuity. I cannot fault them one bit. They knew exactly what they were doing from moment one. And even though, we've kind of discussed how they've been there, done that. There's sort of that reboot concept. They kept doing the same thing over and over. But that was deliberate. They were doing that deliberately with different iterations to kind of have a different seasonal theme and to drive at the final theme, which is what we saw in this season. And I have no doubt that if I went back and binged all 4 seasons straight in a row, as opposed to one by one, as for say a podcast recording, that things I saw in the pilot episode would become clear later on down the line, and I'd be able to remember it better. So
I kind of want to do that now.
I know. Even though things felt repetitive, I think they were repetitive for a conscious purpose. And I think if we put it all together, that Ferris wheel would begin to make a lot of sense.
That's why I like the first season. Is I watched it knowing the big twist at the end of the first season, and I was like, oh wow, they really knew what they were doing by planting all the seeds.
Did you have a favorite season or least favorite season?
Season 1
was your favorite.
Yep.
I
There's
agree
just
with that.
the purity of season 1. Not that the other ones aren't good, but it laid such great foundations. And I think I don't know, it's just there's such a carefreeness to it, even though it's still a perilous thing. Like, they're not trying to save the world yet. They're not trying to save their afterlives. They're just trying to exist and figure out each other. That I think that one has that purity to it that the rest of them don't, because there is so much other things they have to do.
Yeah, and Eleanor's, this is the bad place. It's still very iconic.
Yes.
As is the shrimp and the flying day with the maize and blue costumes.
Okay.
Go blue.
The pajamas they were all wearing were blue and yellow in the beginning, so they were the Princeton Tigers, and it made my brain explode.
No, they were blue and yellow. They were blue and yellow in the beginning as a nod to Michigan.
Yeah.
Eleanor wears University of Michigan t-shirt.
Right, and then it became orange.
For Princeton in the season 4. Yep, exactly.
Sorry, I was excited, but it still tracks, 'cause it's still college-based.
It's still college-based.
Well,
Yes, but I would do a disservice to my alma mater, the University of Michigan, if I did not correct you on that color.
Okay, I live very near there now, and
So they're closer to come get you, since you're wrong.
huh?
Never mind.
Yeah, no, we actually got lost by the big house the other day, and it's very large. I'll be upfront with you.
It's not just a clever name.
It's large.
It's big. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Michael, were you trying to say something?
I was saying Kristen Bell went to U of M, right?
Yeah, she's from Michigan originally.
Yeah.
She's
Saugatuck.
ish. Or Saginaw, I don't remember. One of the S's.
It's like Michigan.
Because her and her husband, Dak Shepard, bring their daughters every summer for a little bit, and they go hang out by the lake.
Because Lake Huron is rocky and gross, and you don't want to hang there.
Aw, that's not all of it.
I
Jeez.
kayaked on there. It was nice. I'm just saying the beaches aren't like the Lake Michigan beaches.
Not by where you were, but that's the subject of another podcast, which will be about the Michigan Great Lakes geography. Okay, next question. Do you think this show would hold up with the passage of time? Why or why not? Was it time for it to go? Would you have watched more seasons, or should it have ended sooner?
Good story.
No, it should not have ended sooner. I don't know that it should have had anything more. I think it was the perfect size. I think if you'd have extended it, you'd have ruined it. And what was the first part of the question?
Will it hold up with the passage of time?
I think some of the not the walk-on rules. What are they? The
Cameos.
cameos, and I think some of the jokes may not be as prescient, but I don't think the show will lose any of its essence. I think it will hold up to time. I just think some of the jokes might not land as well, but I don't think they're bad jokes. I don't think that we'll get somewhere and be like, ooh, that was good.
As in, you mean
I don't, yeah.
Culturally and socially.
Yeah,
A lot of the people they talk about are been dead for a bajillion years, so.
Yeah, but not everybody. All of Tahani's name dropping.
Yeah.
I think might not hold up so well. Depending on how far forward into the future we go.
You know, it's the other Hemingway, the other
Hemsworth. I don't know. They're still pretty relevant. I mean,
yeah, but I'm just saying, if we're doing a 50-year look back, how big will the names that were dropped still be? But I don't think you'll lose anything.
Or in 20 years, if I'm trying to show this to grandchildren or something, they're gonna be like, what are you even? Why? You know?
I'm sorry, as the father of your child, I feel like I have to object here that I'm not sure I want to be a grandfather.
I agree. This is a high five for saying it. Thank you.
She will be 28. So.
I mean, okay, I suppose. I mean,
Just saying.
Could be up to like 10 or 12 years old, depending.
So what this means is that in 20 years, when Vanessa
I just had to make the face. That's I wasn't.
and her parents show her The Good Place and in its entirety, we can bring her back on the podcast. We can ask her, so did you get all the jokes?
Exactly. And she'll be like, I don't know who that person is. Or I didn't care. That's what I fear for, is like some of the pop culture references. I don't know that those will.
they are very.
I know that people our age will still get it. I don't know that younger generations, if they come to watch it, will always get it, depending on how far in the future we're talking.
And it really just depends too on the interest of said human.
Yes.
Of what like I'm a giant nerd, and you can probably make us all sorts of references about the 50s and the 60s when it comes to actors and music, and I will get it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like some people, probably. For others, I don't know.
And in all honesty, I had to look up every single one of Jason's references because I was like, who?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I did not actually get all of Tahani's modern references because I'm a what you call square. That was more of a rectangle. So, and I didn't bother looking them up because for me, it's the delivery of Tahani. So I don't know if it will really matter. I think the show will hold up because of its precise subject matter. I think this is a timeless subject, and Tahani's name dropping is just incidental, really.
And it doesn't matter who Blake Bortles is. We know he plays the football.
Yeah, we know he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars, or was, depending upon where we're looking, because Jason says it 25 million times.
Well, the one I looked up was during his goodbye speeches by his friend. I don't remember his name.
Pillboy.
But he mentioned somebody, and I was like,
Pillboy?
Yeah,
Pillboy.
Pillboy. Somebody, and I was like, who? And I looked it up, and it was a Jacksonville Jaguar person.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
But no, as I said, I don't think you'll lose anything. I just think that the pop references might get lost, but I don't think it'll take away from the show itself.
It doesn't. I can speak from current experience. It really doesn't.
All right. I concede then.
Yeah. I also will say that I think the show probably ended in its perfect spot as well. So my heart kind of wants more because I just love the characters so much, and I love the pastiche of it, and I love the fact that they didn't spare any detail in the visual effects. I love walking through the Good Place neighborhood and reading all the signs on the shops and all of the different little magazine Easter eggs, like the one magazine she's looking at where Parks and Rec is referenced, and all of the different things that are. I mean, I think this has massive rewatchability factor because I think Selene is exactly right. You're going to see something you didn't see the first time. Even on my second go through in season 4, there were things I was like, oh, look at that, that I didn't even see the first time. So,
yeah.
Okay. So we've mentioned that The Good Place was created by Michael Schur and that he co-created Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's responsible for both of those two shows apart from this. These are his 3 creator credits, and he's batting 3 for 3, which not many creators can say. Have you watched these other 2, or will you watch these other 2 now that you watch The Good Place? Will you follow Michael Schur? Kristen, are you going to give me your canned answer?
Well, I will say I think I'm on my 4th or 5th rewatch of Parks and Rec right now. So if The Good Place was available to stream in its entirety right now, whether it be all on Netflix or on Peacock or Split, I would be rewatching it more because Netflix only has seasons 1 through 3 as of right now.
I can provide you with access to number 4 if you are interested.
I may take you up on that. We will see. But that is a talk for offline.
Friends help each other out.
I have not watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've only seen the one mini crossover episode that it did with New Girl back in the day when it was still on Fox.
Watch it.
So it's on my list to go back and to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But no, I really like Michael Schur. I loved his writing for The Office. I love when he acted on The Office as Mose, Dwight's cousin. I'm really interested to see what he does next, whether he's going to take a little bit of a break or if he's going to dive right back into something new. So, Michael Schur might be, again, one of my very, very few exceptions to the rule. He's with The Good Place. He's really made me a bigger fan. So.
I have watched Parks and Rec. I have not watched all of the series. I have watched a few episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But funny thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine for me is that I have watched that show in small clips. I don't watch a lot of full episodes because Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes up on my Facebook feed as like, for some odd reason I get like Channel 4, the BBC Channel 4 advertisements, and they always show clips of the American shows that they show on BBC 4. And so Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a very common one for the ads. And I've probably seen more of the show in clip form than I have in actual episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But it's what I've seen is utterly hilarious. And I always... Parks and Rec has not been one of my favorite shows. I like it. It's a lot of fun. I like the characters and I like the writing. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't one of those shows that I was just like, this is the best show ever. I think I'm kind of like Krista in this feeling with The Good Place is my feeling on Parks and Rec. But if I hear an advertising for a show coming up in the 2022-23 season, which is probably the next TV season that will actually be, a real thing.
Keep hope alive, Michael.
If they say from Michael Schur, the creator of The Good Place, I will watch that trailer and I will be like appointment viewing.
I devoured Parks and Rec. And I might be the female-ish, not a girl, Andy Samberg. So I definitely watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm not done with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, actually, because I did not watch it when it first came out, and I'm still watching it on Hulu. I know. But I am watching it. It is amazing, and I love The Good Place. So yes, I will watch all the Michael Schur until.
So you are Janet.
I am Janet, but I can't. Well, no, I cannot create things out of thin air yet.
Yeah. Yes.
It'll happen.
Once I can do that, though, then I've got it.
You're there. You're almost there. Come on, right?
Almost there.
Okay.
I have not watched Parks and Rec or Brooklyn Nine-Nine in full. I am currently, floating here and there around in both shows. I am notoriously bad at finishing shows. I'm really good at starting them. I'm really good at falling in love with shows and then being like, I'm not in the mood for that today. What about this show? And I finish shows because I have podcasts, if we're being honest.
I'm glad I can help you in your appropriate completionism.
Thank you. So it's one of those things where I either watch a show and devour it all in a day, which doesn't happen anymore. Thank you being done with college. I say that jokingly. I've been out of college for a while. Just throw that out there. Yeah, no problem. But seriously, I love both of those shows. I loved this show. I will definitely, if I see Michael Schur's name on it, be like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go.
We'll see.
Okay.
I don't mean to be a giant negative Nancy.
No one's calling you giant.
Parks and Rec, like, I guess it was just on at the same time as 30 Rock, which I loved.
Okay.
And Parks and Rec is what we watched after 30 Rock. This was like, it was a magical time in 2011 where we would come home from work and we would watch last night's Daily Show, 30 Rock, and Parks and Rec, and it was like the most glorious Fridays.
That was a
And
magical time.
it was a lovely, lovely time.
Yeah.
But it was just never as good as 30 Rock for me. I tried Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I kind of like hate Andy Samberg, but I actually find him a little bit charming. No, I mean before Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Now you see,
I broke them.
Kels may or may not love Andy Samberg to the end of the year.
See,
well, it's
Hot rock.
not an intentional love. It's not intentional. It's
he was on a boat.
I'm on a boat. I sing that song every time I'm on a boat. Just so
because
you know.
that's the only Lonely Island song you know.
No, I also know This Is the Tale of Captain Jack Sparrow. Thank you.
Okay.
I also
Dynamics.
and then I just did sex.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Classic.
Well, during the Rosencrantz and the Guildenstern, there's actually a line that says "We're on a boat," so it was troubling.
That's hard to finish a rehearsal with that.
It got to a point where my stage manager would look at me every time and be like, "You are not doing it." 'Cause I would.
Yeah. So no, I first discovered Andy Samberg. Well, probably on Saturday Night Live, but then my favorite movie ever is Hot Rod, and it just started there, and now I can't stop. And
I know what that is, but look.
it's okay.
I
I'll send
super
you a copy.
enjoy that when Kels and Selene have revelations, the other one's in the background going.
My cousin and I are both in love with Andy Samberg, and we both went to see Lonely Island in concert. Actually, fun fact. So my brother-in-law mentioned recently that he had never heard Lonely Island. He lives in England, and his wife, my sister, was like, "Let me play them for you." And so she did, and he was like, "This is garbage. I don't like it. It's stupid." And she was like, "It's not stupid. Kels and my cousin like it." And he goes, "Well, that does not help your case." And so I told my cousin about it, and she goes, "Well, I'm immediately sending them a copy of Hot Rod." Which stars Andy Samberg, and it has the Lonely Island guy. Well, one of them is a producer, and the other one is in it. And it's excellent. I also recommend Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping, which is another Andy Samberg movie.
I'm probably not gonna watch either of those, but I appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then now Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I didn't love him intentionally. In fact, I don't even know how great of a person he is in real life. And I'm worried that he's not a great person.
I just wanted to say that when you said you're welcome just right a second ago, you sounded a little like Kate McKinnon.
You kind of look like Kate McKinnon, also for what.
I didn't do this
make her
just for
very-
this reaction. It really sounded like her.
Guys, you're the best friends ever.
Well, I will say from my perspective, I will follow Michael Short. If it's telling to you, the viewers and listeners at home at all, we have full panels waiting in the wings for The Office, Parks and Rec, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine because they're that popular. And we had a supersized panel coming into The Good Place. So obviously his shows are well written and they're well performed, and people like to come on and do them. And I've watched Parks and Rec, not fully. I've not watched any of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Of course, I will watch both as I produce this podcast. I have to see what's the what about all the things. But I think if Michael Schur, and I am one to follow a creator. Kristen and I have this ongoing inside joke. She doesn't normally follow creators. I always follow creators, especially if I think the creators are good. Michael Schur goes on my list of, yes, if he's doing it tomorrow, I will show up to my TV. I don't care what it is. I'll just give it a try. If it's a stupid topic, fine. But he'll probably write it in a way that'll make me laugh. So what do I care? Michael Schur. Would you follow any of the ensemble cast, which of course is just 6 people, 6 regular people? Would you follow any of them to other projects, past, present, or future? I'll start this one. Yeah, right?
All of them.
All explanation needed. Just a hardcore yes.
Yes.
Except for Jamila Jamil's game show. That one, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that one feels a little... I don't want to watch Misery. That's how I feel.
No.
Not right now. But if she showed up in a scripted vehicle, by the way, this was her very first audition for a scripted vehicle, and she got it. And I think she's wonderful. And I agree. If any of them showed up, I mean, obviously Ted Danson, we've been watching him for the decades. If you watched Cheers, you're already there. And Kristen Bell, she's racked up just about as many credits and is a national treasure. I wasn't just saying that, not just because she went to U of M, but because she is Kristen Bell and is a national treasure.
I just have to interrupt and say that earlier this month, one of my friends on Facebook wrote, "Kristen Bell is a Cancer," and I was like, and then I realized that they were talking about the astrological sign. And I was all ready to like jump in there and fight for her. And then I was like, oh, you mean, oh, okay, yes. Never mind. Excuse me. But real quick, speaking of Jamila El Jamil, she has a podcast. So if you like podcasts, which you probably do if you're listening to us, you should check it out. What's it called, Selene?
I don't know. I downloaded it, but I haven't. I'm really okay, guys.
I have it right here.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. So many.
It's called
of them.
I Weigh with Jamila Jamil.
Yes, and it's really cool. I actually do listen to it. I just forgot what it was called, and I don't have my
So it doesn't track though that her game show is unpleasant.
It's called the Misery Index, and it's basically about watching people doing really dumb things and lots of pain and stuff, and the contestants get to rate it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying
That's
it.
like not her. Why?
Because I can't see.
But now we are the same color as our background. Thank you.
Live!
I know, the show must go on.
Sorry. Anyways.
So about that.
About that. Anyways, yeah, but her podcast is really cool. It has to do with like her work on,
And if
like,
if I can recommend one more,
yeah.
Sorry, there was a helicopter. Her episode on Jonathan Van Ness's podcast, Gold. If you enjoy poop humor.
Okay.
Great.
So if you want to hear crazy stories about people pooping, it's a delight. And Kylie and I talked about this the other day. It's very funny to me. Because I have apparently a sense of humor of like a 7-year-old.
There's a network-produced podcast for The Good Place, actually, that accompanies the show, and it's still available in wherever you get your podcasts, which is also wherever you can get this podcast. I might want to plug us because we're here. But if you want to rewatch the show and listen to stuff alongside it, that's a really good podcast for you as well.
And it's by Sean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Wait, Mark Evan Jackson?
Yes, he hosted. Yeah.
Sean,
She was so excited she went into her voice.
you mean Sean, the Demon Sean guy, right?
Yes.
Not Cheaty, who is the name you just gave.
What?
Wait, what?
What name did you just give?
Mark Evan Jackson?
Oh, sorry, I heard William Jackson. I was like,
No, Mark Evan. He's also in another podcast, long time ago, called The Thrilling Adventure Hour, where he plays the Marshal on Mars.
Yeah. I listened to that one. That one's good.
I literally have never seen his face before. I've only ever heard him on the podcast. And he showed up as Sean, and I literally went, ah! It's him! By his voice. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's okay.
Who watched the reunion special?
I did not.
Oh. I cried copious amounts of tears. Seth Meyers hosted it. It was about 12 minutes long because it basically filled the time that wasn't filled by the finale proper. All 6 actors came back, and what they ended up doing was Amy Poehler's exercise where everyone gets to toast somebody else. And the toast they gave each other, oh my God. They are truly a family and lifelong friends, and if you haven't watched it, go out onto YouTube. I'm sure it's there. It's I cried more at that than I cried at the actual show. Just gonna put that out there. So now we're at the creme de la creme because we're almost done. And not that I'm excited to leave or anything, but this is the finale question for us because we, the Couch Potatoes Unite, Ted, feel that we have a responsibility to our viewers when it comes to our television viewing. Although I think the answer is pretty self-evident based upon all of the effusive praise and commentary you've heard thus far today. Would you recommend The Good Place to others? Why or why not? Why or why not?
Watch the show because it will make you smile, and we need that. It will teach you to be kind, and we need that.
Yes, because it's not what you expect.
I'm going to say yes because of what Michael said.
Yeah.
And I would also say yes because it's different from other sitcoms. And in this day and age, it's really nice to watch something that isn't all procedurals or medical shows or dysfunctional families, even though this technically, I guess, could be described as a dysfunctional family or funny family sitcom, but it's just different. And it's worth a watch. And you're going to learn something. You will learn about ethics and philosophy and all these fun things.
I would also recommend it. I frequently have. I've recommended it to family members. I've recommended it to coworkers. I recommended it to my boss. He watched it. I'll recommend it to basically an inanimate object I see on the floor. If it suddenly became animate and said, what's the first TV show I should watch? I probably would give it The Good Place because it's 13 episodes per season. It's digestible comedy. There are dramatic moments, but they don't wallow in them. It is fresh. It is unique. It is unusual. I cannot think of a single sitcom like it or show like it, really, that has ever been on TV, not to mention the fact that it's smart. It doesn't pander to the audience. It's smart. And it doesn't compromise that intelligence at any point. It goes for some cheap laughs. It goes for some shtick every now and again. But it's in keeping with its overall level of humor, thought, and heart. And I can't give a higher piece of praise to a television show, comedy or otherwise. So The Good Place, 5 stars, holy smokes. I think that's the whole panel. Even Krista, who was like 4.75, but yes, give it a whirl.
That's still pretty good.
It's very good. It's very, very good. Yes, it's very good. So at this point, I just want to double check. Is there anything else that we haven't said or already talked about that you need to get off your chest at this time? Okay? 2 thumbs up. Well, if there's nothing else to be said at this time, what I'd like to do is thank Kristen and Michael and Krista and Selene and Kels for joining me these times, multiple times, plural, to talk about The Good Place. And because we've talked about The Good Place, it's now time for me to say that CPU was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato. And hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and YouTube. There's all kinds of places where you can leave feedback. Give us stars, comments, reviews. Let us know how we're doing, what you like, what you don't like, that old chestnut. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatousunite.wordpress.com, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. In fact, we have several more new episodes coming down the pike. We go once per week. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, we're everywhere. If you search for Couch Potatoes Unite on Google, we top it. We top the search. You'll find us. So just find our website or our channels. You'll be able to listen to any of our old episodes. Until the next time, The Good Place is available to stream on Netflix through the end of the 3rd season only. Season 4 is not fully available to stream yet, though the 5 final episodes are available at NBC's website and on the NBC app. And so you can also go to Hulu for that if you want to watch those 5 episodes. If you have nominations for shows we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or email. You can volunteer to be a panelist as well. In the meantime, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.
Bye.